Welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we cut through the bullshit
Greggy,
so we can get naked.
you can't say that.
Why not? How would you say it then?
Well, maybe more like, welcome to Undressing Intimacy, where we undress emotionally so we can undress physically.
That's exactly what I said. Not sure what the problem is. Welcome to episode number
60.
We're pushing up there, baby.
I'm so excited.
Well, we have had quite the week.
Yes, we have.
Talk about a roller coaster. It has been
All of
a
it.
roller coaster. So we're going to talk a little about it. But before we do that, we're very, very excited to talk about something else. 2 major announcements.
Yeah, which one do you want to do first?
Let's start with the community that we're putting together.
Okay, so this is something I've been noodling on for a while. And what I have noticed is that there really isn't a space for couples to see other couples and have conversations with other couples. I get to meet with Greg and I get to meet with all of you fabulous couples, and we get to enjoy that experience. But I feel like something that is missing is the opportunity for you to meet and see and converse with other couples. And in that conversation, to see how similar some of your struggles are and to be able to share also your triumphs and your wins. And so I've been noodling on this idea to create a community. I don't like online communities because I feel like they digress so quickly. And I would really rather have a face-to-face community as much as possible. So my idea is to have a once a month for now call that everyone is invited to, where we will do all sorts of different things. We may open it up for wins. We may teach something. We may have questions. We may be talking about date ideas. We just have a lot of different possibilities for this time chunk. It may be a bring your hardest question and we'll all brainstorm with you. Anyways, I think that you would benefit from knowing and seeing each other. It's something that we see in retreats when we see other couples come together and they get to see firsthand that they're not alone and that these struggles are part of the development in every marriage. And that's what I want to offer you. I want to offer you the community so that you know you're not alone, and the opportunity to get to know other couples and to support them and to receive support. And yeah, just to experience that.
We are going to start our first one. The first one will be the 25th of November. And you're asking yourself, how do I get to be able to sign up for this? And it's going to be very easy. If you are on our weekly email, then that link to sign up will show up on that email and it will be fabulous. And if you're not on our weekly email, then go into the notes of this podcast and there will be a link in the notes that will take you to the sign up sheet to be able to sign up for our weekly email. And then you'll be able to get the link to be able to sign up for November 25th.
7:30 p.m. Central Time. I think you can also sign up for the weekly email on our webpage too.
Yep, there's a link on our webpage too that you can do it. So however you want to do it, go sign up. We look forward to having as many of you on that community call as possible. And the next exciting thing, on that very day, we will be releasing a podcast with our good friend and mentor,
Dr.
Jennifer
Finlayson
Fife. This time, an author. So we're going to invite her in, and we're so glad that she's able to join us. She's been very, very busy with her new book.
Very busy.
So we feel honored to have her on, and we will have her on for that 25th of November podcast.
So it's a big week, and it's the week of Thanksgiving here. And we feel so grateful and so blessed that we want to share that with you. We want to share our favorite mentor. We want to share the clients that we have. We want you to be able to see each other. We want to share the goodness of that community with you. And sometimes it feels a little selfish that you and I, get to meet all of these amazing, outstanding, wonderful people. It just came to me that it's sad that you don't get to meet each other. So that's how we're addressing this and hoping that it will just be a resource for you and a place for you to not feel alone.
Yep. So go sign up for the Undressing Intimacy community. We'd love to have you on there. We look forward to having as many as possible on the 25th, and we will go from there.
Yay!
All right, let's talk about this week.
Let's do it.
Holy cow. So it takes a little bit of backstory. It won't take a lot of time because I've talked about some of this on the podcast before, but want to bring everyone up to speed to where we're at and what was such a big deal this week. As many of you know, we talked about before, I got the opportunity 10 years ago or so to start volunteering at a therapeutic riding center where we use horses for therapy. And it was fantastic. My youngest daughter, Megan, she needed some service hours and she thought it would be a great idea. And I said, I'll do it with you because she wasn't old enough to be there by herself. And she lasted about 3 months and I lasted about 8 years. And in the process of those 8 years, I was a volunteer, but I also went and got my PATH certification, which allowed me to be an instructor and have my own riders. And it was fantastic. I loved it. I loved my riders. I loved my volunteers. I absolutely adored and loved the horses. During this time, one of the things that happens is it's costly to have horses, and you can't just go out and buy horses that usually for therapy. The horses that come through therapy are probably second, third job where they've gone through parts of their lives and been very successful, and now they can't be successful at that part of their life, and so they come to be a therapeutic horse. A lot of those horses are show horses that go and show. And the cool thing about that is in therapeutic riding, we're able to give our riders something to look forward to because we take them to those shows. Some of the biggest shows in the world have a class for what they call equestrians with disabilities, and they show. So these equestrians with disabilities that don't get to compete hardly in anything else in their life get to sit on the back of a horse, control a 1,200-pound animal, which is pretty cool unto itself, and then go compete for ribbons and trophies and all kinds of cool things.
And they just light up.
Yeah, it's just so much fun.
It is so much fun.
I'd probably taken riders for 5, 6, 7 years to these shows and had them compete. And some of the greatest moments in my life was being there with them when they had victories and being with them when they were in defeat and consoling them.
Getting them all dressed up for horse shows. You get
bling
pretty
blingy.
fancy.
It's pretty crazy. The horse gets all bling blingy.
Fancy shirts, fancy horse stuff. So they get that opportunity to have that, moment in the spotlight.
Well, in the process of these years at the therapy center, horses would come in and out. And we ask a lot of those horses, tons. It's a tough mental job to have someone on your back that may not be stable, that may not be able to sit still, that may not be able to put their weight in the right place.
Or support themselves.
Or, and most importantly, be able to cue that horse to tell them what to do. And sometimes you have a leader that's leading them around like a pony. And they've been very successful show horses, which a show horse has tons of training put into it. That's the cost. They get trained from a very young age and are bred just to do that. They have many buttons to push to be able to do all kinds of fun, tricky things. And this horse went from doing these fun, tricky things to walking in laps, being led around like a pony ride. And it's really hard for them. Some of them succeed.
Some of them love it.
Some of them can transition and do a great job.
And some of them not so
some
much.
Can't. So we had a horse come through. His name was Clifford. His real name is Terms Are Blazing. They have funny names. They try to get their famous parents. Blazing Hot is his grandfather, and he's a pretty famous show horse. And so Terms of Blazing came in. His name was Clifford. And I immediately fell in love with this horse. Quite an amazing horse. I had been working with another horse named T, Fit for Royalty. T.E. was his name, and we called him T. God made this one different, the most loving creature I'd ever seen. 1,200-pound creature that could trample you to death if it wanted to, but it would lick your face off instead. And fell in love with him, and I'd been working with him, and Clifford came in and looked a lot like him and acted a lot like him too. And he had been donated to us because he had a genetic disease called navicular, to Victory, the therapy center. Had a bone disease called navicular that was genetic that caused the tendon down his leg to get tight and cause pain. And so you had to manage that. And so they had kind of given up on him on the show pen, not thinking that he'd be able to compete at a high enough level to continue to show him. Well, during his time there, I just had the feeling that, one, his heart wasn't into the therapy part of it. He really wanted to please, and he wanted to trust his rider. When they could not cue and give him the cues that he needed, he would get frustrated. And he wouldn't be stupid like buck him off, but he would stop in the corner remember many times my most able riders I'd put on him and they wouldn't be able to ride him. And then I'd get on and ride and he would be just fine. And it was kind of like, what is going on, Clifford? You're a nutcase. He is a quirk.
He was just telling you what he
He just
needed.
told me what he was like,
He was
I don't want to do
communicating.
this. This is not for me. And so fortunately during this process, I had met somebody who was a volunteer and became a good friend, Alexis Walker. She was going down to medical school in Fort Worth, and she had been showing horses in 4-H from since she was such a little girl back east in Vermont. And she was a fabulous horse woman, and she loved horses, and she fell in love with Clifford as hard as I did. And we would dream, like, what would it be to have Clifford in our lives?
Mm-hmm.
Never really thinking it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I got a call one day while I was on the road working, and they said, hey, we're going to donate Clifford. Do you want him? And I said yes, and then thought, how the hell am I going to convince Amy that I'm going to get a horse? That was going to be the challenge. And so I went to work as fast as possible, trying to figure out how to convince my wife to spend a buttload of money, not paying for the horse as far as buying the horse, but knowing that this horse, one, you had to upkeep it, stable it somewhere,
Right.
ferry it, but
Vet.
also we knew he had this navicular problem, so there was going to be injections and all kinds of things that had special shoes that he had to wear. It was not going to be cheap. To this day, I'm still not sure how I convinced her, especially the first time she met Daryl Clifford. I have a picture that's quite hilarious.
We put it
'cause
in our weekly
it's
email.
a live picture. But you can't tell in the live, if you've not seen the live picture. It looks like Clifford is snuggling up to Amy, which I'm like saying, Clifford, this is amazing. You're going to sweet talk mom into this. She's going to love you, and she's going to open the checkbook, and this is going to be fabulous. And I'm just cheering on. And before I know it, he reaches out and bites her boob.
Just like his papa.
And that's what she said. She turned to me and said, oh, he's just like his dad. Thinking, Clifford, you just blew it for us. Anyway, don't want to spend too much time on the backstory, but Clifford came into our lives. And I always just kind of felt like he had more to give,
Mm-hmm.
more to do. People thought I was crazy. I was told I shouldn't take him. Like, no, you need to go find another horse. If you really want a horse, you got to find another one. You shouldn't take this one. I was told that we could never keep him sound, which means that he could, he's not in pain and he rides normally. And I just had hope that we could. And the connection that I had with Clifford made me desire to do whatever I could to make it happen. And not only that, but we took Clifford up to the show, the world show, NSBA in Tulsa one last time for Victory Therapy because they were a horse. We said, yeah, we'll go up there, but we're going to be the ones handling him. Alexis and I will be the ones handling him. And I got to take him up there, and I got to watch Alexis ride him in the warm-up pens with all the other fancy show horses. And when I saw him in there, I'm like, he belongs.
Mm-hmm.
This is where he belongs. And he was happy to be there, and he enjoyed it. At the time, Alexis hadn't ever shown at a world show. All the riding she'd done and success she'd never been able to show at a world show. Well, she's a medical student, and medical students are very busy. And then when they graduate from medical school, they go right on to residency, and then they're even more busy, and it's almost impossible to find the time. But I looked at Alexis and I said, we're going to show him in a world show before you go into residency. She says, you're crazy. I'm like, I know, but we're going to do it. And so we made the goal right then and there to go do it. Now, when I told my friend Jan that I was going to do this, I was going to start showing him again. She looked at me and said, well, then you need to learn how to ride because you suck. She probably didn't say you suck, but that's what she was saying. So she was the only one that was able to be honest with me and tell me I wasn't that great of a rider. I had everyone else tell me how good I was becoming and how wonderful it was. That night I took Alexis to dinner. I said, how bad am I, Alexis? She said, you're pretty bad. I said, why wouldn't you tell me? She said, well, you're letting me ride your horse for free. So why would I ruin that? I'm like, I can't get any better without someone being honest with me. So I said, you need to help me learn how to ride. I've never done that before. I'm like, I don't care. You're still going to do it. So we set off on a quest to get Clifford back into shape, get him back in the show pen, and to show at a world show. And it was a challenge.
A roller coaster.
A super big roller coaster of the thrills of the first time we ever went to a show. I lost my pants. We'll have another story about that later on. It was totally Alexis's fault. So if she ever listens to this, she'll know that it was her fault. She knows. She admits it was her fault. Just crazy, but we did it. That was a big milestone. Got him in pretty decent shape and started showing him. We struggled to keep him healthy and fit in this world. And one of the worst things ever is when you get tapped in the shoulder in the show pen and say, "Sir, your horse is not fit to be in the show pen. You need to exit while you're showing." And that happened to us several times. And it was so disappointing because we spent the effort and the money to get down to those shows. And all of a sudden we were done because he wasn't able to show. I was told, "You stop, quit. You're never going to do this." We had a couple people come into my life. One of them was the lady that owns the property where we board Clifford, right behind our house. Actually, that's a whole other story we could tell. But we ended up buying the property right behind where we board Clifford. And she always believed in him from the moment he came in. She had something about him. She had an eye for him. She fell in love with him. And I found that quite interesting. And she was the one that encouraged me and said, "You know what? There's a surgery you can do that helps him, helps relieve the pain. It doesn't get rid of the genetic disease. That will always stay there, but allows them to not have the pain so they can perform. And you should go do that." And I'd known about the surgery, but I was always kind of worried about doing that, right? That seems like a big deal. She said, "I have had complete success. Here's another horse in my barn, Cruiser, who's done it. And he's been a world champion afterwards, and it's going to work. You should go do it." And we had finally found the show for Alexis to go show at in Las Vegas, Nevada, which was a long haul. And at first I'm like, "I'll drive out there, no problem." And everyone told me, "If you drive him out there in your little trailer, he won't walk again." Like, don't ever do that. And Vicky was trying to encourage us to go get that surgery done before, but it just wasn't enough time before the show. And so we ended up doing the show. We were able to give him some meds and stuff to help him. And we did it. We were told, "Hey, we were successful. We did it. We high-fived. It was great. You know, we didn't win anything, but we went and did it." But that show, someone else came into our lives. And it was a trainer that lived close by who hauled Clifford out to Las Vegas. And you think, "Oh, it's just another person." This lady and her assistant are just most fabulous people in the world. She's dealing with stage 4 cancer, and you would never know it. She works harder than anyone else, never complains. In fact, I got food poisoning in Vegas, and I was sitting in my room throwing up, and I was violently ill. And all I could think is about, I got to get back down there because Megan's down there with stage 4 cancer kicking ass. And I'm up here. I'm not going to be a whiner with food poisoning and get back down there. So here's this trainer who's dealing with this herself. And as soon as she sees Alexis ride Clifford, Alexis is just a natural rider. She's an amazing natural rider, English rider too. And Clifford never shown English. He's always been Western. I just got a video today, actually, of the first time she put him in an English saddle, which was quite funny. And so here we are, first time. And she looked up Alexis and she said, "You're going to qualify for the Worlds, AQHA Worlds in Oklahoma City, and you're going to come ride Clifford." And Alexis thought, "You're nuts." Because I'm going to be in the middle of residency at that time. And I thought, "You're nuts. We can't keep Clifford sound, able to ride. You're crazy." She said, "Nope, we're going to do it. And we're going to bring home a trophy. We're going to get a top 3. I'm like, "Okay, I don't see how it's going to happen, but you know, I'm crazy enough to keep going. And if you're going to double down on my craziness, then we're going to do this." And to fast forward, we went through a bunch of trials and tribulations. We ended up having the surgery for Clifford. Halfway through it, he decided to throw a shoe off and puncture his hoof. And I thought he had destroyed himself. I was distraught. I think I talked about that in one of my podcasts. But time went on and he got better and got better and got better. We went to go visit our granddaughter. We sent him up to Megan's place for a whole week. And she's like, "He's ready to go. He's going to be amazing." And in fact, she wanted to take him from me for a whole month. Right? So let me take him and train him for a month. I'm like, "No, he's my therapy. I can't do that." I'm like a little jealous. And so we worked together and she came down here and she schooled him and I rode him in between. And Vicky, we need to fatten that kid up. He's too skinny. And so I put him on some more food. He changed the way he looked. Doesn't even look the same. Worked. Alexis somehow miraculously got off of residency time, which she didn't think she could do, could fly in. And we signed up for Worlds in Oklahoma City. Alexis had literally 36 hours in Oklahoma City. By the time she flew in, she hadn't ridden Clifford in 6 months, 5 months. And the only time she would be able to ride him was 11 o'clock at night when she got in, when she landed in Oklahoma City, and 5 in the morning the next morning before she showed. Crazy, yes. We were crazy. But I'll tell you, I've never seen him so happy. I've never seen him move so well. And it was just amazing to watch. And Megan, or the trainer, fell completely in love with him. Her assistant fell completely in love with him. We went in there, and believe it or not, we came back in 3rd place, almost 2nd place. And so the happiness and joy that came out of that was just fantastic. And it really reminded me that we can never give up on somebody. And that if you're willing to love them with all your heart, which I do, I love Clifford. I love Alexis. She's like my 5th child. I love and grateful for Megan and for Anna and Vicky, all the people that came into my life that believed in him and doubled down. If you love them and you're willing to put in the effort and work through the hills and the valleys, that you can find the joy. You can find these moments. And it's quite the story. It was a great reminder to me of the blessing it is to be able to pour into somebody, multiple people, and people pour into him and love him. And it's just been fabulous. What was it like for you, babe, to be able to watch this and go through this? And you were by my side all the way. You were writing checks in the checkbook. I felt so bad one day of all the money I was spending on Clifford.
This is funny.
That we had an old metal shed in the back that I had torn down, and there was a recycle place down the street. I thought for sure I was going to come home with a couple $100. This was not going to be anywhere near the money I needed to put into Clifford, but boy, it was going to go a long ways. And I went up there and took it in, and I went into the office, and they gave me $24.40.
And so you come into my office, you're like, babe, I know I've been spending a lot of money on Clifford lately, and I have a contribution. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, I sold the steel from the shed.
Here's $24.40.
$24. Ah.
Oh, it's so bad. It is
Well,
not for the faint of heart. Showing horses is not cheap.
I think I have a different view of the story because you're telling the story of pouring into Clifford and pouring into Alexis and Megan, and all of those are all true. But my view of the story is that Clifford actually brought you back to me.
It's true.
And Clifford helped bring you back to life through some of your health challenges, helped support you through challenges with our children and through some difficult journeys. And Clifford helped you come back alive. Like you were really struggling
That's
in a lot of
very
ways.
true.
And so how do you put a price on that?
That's true. That's true. That's very true. I will use that in the future. Thank you.
So yes, there are all these other elements of it, but what Clifford brought in your life, or when you went to the horse ranch and started coming back each time and being a little bit more alive, a little bit more yourself, a little bit more, healthy and awake and present, was so meaningful to me.
Yeah, it's really kind of weird in a couple ways because Amy, if I have a bad day, she points at the barn. That's all she does. Like, get out here and go visit Clifford.
You need to go visit Cliffy. He
And
resets him.
The moment he left for Oklahoma, my foot started hurting like bad.
Yeah.
And we still to this day can't figure out what it was, but it's all better.
As soon as you got with Cliffy.
It's just really strange that way. It's weird.
And we watched, your father had a lot of poor health, and my father had a lot of poor health, and both of them passed away very young, too young. And you were on that trajectory.
Yeah, and that was the greatest fear that Amy had. She talks about controlling me, and we've had episodes about that. Let
Yeah.
me tell you a quick story that's pretty personal. I don't think I've told it on this podcast, but it will lead us into the next topic I think we want to talk about. And it will give us kind of an illustration about what Clifford can do and what he did for me. So our youngest son got diagnosed with autism, high function autism at a very late age. I think we've told you this. 16?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was a struggle before that. The diagnosis actually helped a lot because it explained a lot. But he was in high school now and just felt like he was different than everyone else, that no one cared, that it didn't matter, he would never be normal. And he became suicidal. And we had just, the night before, had the police show up at our door because he had really good friends that loved him. So they had called in and said that they were worried about him. And so they came by for a health check, and we thought he was going to be taken off to a mental hospital. That's what they wanted to do. And so they talked with him for a couple hours. We sat in our room. It was just torturous.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally came back and said, okay, we're not going to take him up to the mental hospital. We don't think that's the right thing, but just let you know that if we get another call, that's what will happen. And we're going to let him stay here tonight. And they left. And we had been dealing with that up late at night. So I got up in the next morning. And this was before we bought the house. So this is right behind Clifford. So I had to drive 15, 20 minutes, but I came up to ride Clifford. And Clifford at the therapy center didn't get as much attention as he should, I think. And
He likes attention.
he really wasn't a lovey, snuggling kind of horse. Now today he'll lick my face off like a puppy dog.
Yeah.
We have pictures of it, and he's the
He's
most
very
snuggly
snuggly now.
guy I've ever met in my life. So if you want horse hugs and kisses, let me know. We'll line you up and bring you up here, and he will give them to you. So the most
Freely.
loving, compassionate horse, a lot like T that I talked about. He turned into being like that. But at the time, we just had him for a very short period of time, and he really wasn't like that. I took him out into the arena, and I was taking off the halter and putting the bridle on. And as soon as I went to go do that, he took his big old head and he reached over my shoulder and he pulled me in and held me. Now, keep in mind, I had just been through the hell the night before. How he knew, God only knows.
They know.
But horses know. And he held me there. I thought that was strange. And I went to walk away and he pulled me in and he held me and he wouldn't let me go. And we stood there for a good few minutes, just holding me, like practically in tears. And he was like, I got you. I'm just going to hold you here till you're okay. Keep breathing. I've told him that many times since then, like, I got you. Keep your attention. But we have that partnership, right? And that's the kind of animal that he is to me. That's the kind of friend. That's the kind of partner he is to me. In my lowest moment, he was the one that held me and said, it's going to be okay. And so there was never a moment I was ever going to give up on him. There was never. He had done so much for me that I was not going to give up on him. And I saw how much he loved to be in the show arena. He loves to be doted on and made pretty.
He loves it.
He thinks that's what he was born for, people to look at him and say how awesome he is. And he loves it. And so this was a culmination of a lot of energy and emotions. And it's just been quite fabulous to see it come to fruition. And who knows what's ahead. You know, we're excited to go on to the next thing. I think he has years of showing. I think he'll be fine for some years now. We'll go see what we're going to do because I don't know how much money I have. But Amy just told me it's worth all the money. So maybe I'm good.
No, he really has been a source of bringing you back. That when we talk about Eros energy a lot and we talk about how it can be found in so many places, he was the Eros energy that brought you back, that helped center and heal and gave you a reason to get moving and to get outside and to strengthen your mind and your body and purpose and so many things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then a lot of things I learned from him actually equate to what we teach in relationships, right?
Mhm.
The relationship you have to build and the trust you have to build with a horse. You can do it the other way. We watch trainers just manhandle, control and
Yeah.
kick
No.
and force. And we've also seen what that does to them. In a short period of time, they can actually be successful over the long haul. In fact, Clifford had a little bit of that, the way he'd been treated before I got him. He's interesting because some horses show no emotion at all. He's very emotional. And if you correct him, he like gets all wound up and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're telling me I'm wrong. And he gets all upset. Well, if you take that getting upset as him not listening again, some people can escalate that and continue to, scold him or get mad at him or correct him. And he just escalates with you. And I've seen Amy get a little scared once when this pattern happened when she was walking him, right? And she was trying to control him and he was just escalating.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's taught me to be able to like, okay, you got to be firm and ask what you want, but then you got to go like it never happened and get back to
Calm
it.
back
And you got
down.
to calm back down. And
He's really taught you to calm down a lot.
yeah, he's really centered me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's taught me that because if you don't, then we're going to be in a rodeo. We're going to be escalating and he's going to be bucking and rearing. And that's not where you want to go.
Yeah.
But he's gotten so good when you trust him. Every horse is going to have moments where they get scared and they spook and do things like that. And that's not the sign if they'll never do that, because that's not true. It's going to happen. Just like the struggles we have in marriage, they're not ever going to go away. They're going to happen. It's how fast can that horse come back to you is the question. And that's the thing. It will happen. When I was out riding and there was a dog kennel that was open and the wind started blowing and that dog kennel door just started pounding, making really loud noises. And Clifford thought he was going to die. Like that pen's going to eat me alive. I know it. And he acted like that. But when I was able to bring him back down and show him he was okay, he just turned it off. Okay, I'm okay. Let's go. And things like that reminded me of how far that partnership had come. And that he was willing to trust me enough to say, no, you're not going to be eaten by that dog pen. It's going to be okay. Horses find the smallest things. That stick is going to eat me alive. I know it. And they react. And just coming back to me. So he has really taught me tons about relationships and building those relationships of trust, because it's much better to trust each other. He's 1,200 pounds and he's letting you sit on his back right where the lion would eat him. That's his instinctual place, because he can see everywhere except where I sit on top of him. So he can't see me when I'm up there. It just should not ever be natural for a horse to let anything on its back right there. And yet they do, and they listen, they become partners, and they do amazing things. So it's quite cool. But what I wanted to lead into, and I told the story about my son, was we had a wonderful, wonderful time. Well, a 2-hour conversation one of the nights we were up in Oklahoma with him. And I know we've talked about this before. I think we were driving somewhere last time and had a conversation we talked about on our podcast. But after he figured out he was going to be okay, he is the most amazing, wise, thoughtful. I'm like, can you come coach for us? Because you get it, young man. And it's just been a pleasure to sit down and have conversations with him. And he's right in the middle of starting a new relationship.
So he was telling us all about it, and he didn't want to leave anything out. We were hearing every conversation, every minute, minute by minute, and it was actually incredibly endearing. And in the beginning of what might be a romantic relationship, he was talking about the risk. They've been good friends, and they're, kind of navigating, are we going to move from friends to romantic? And he was talking about the risk that comes when you make that shift, that there's always this risk. And they're having this conversation around it. And he said,
and then remember, the girl had been in a couple of relationships before that had not worked out. And so she's really questioning herself, like, why is that the case? But she seems to be very thoughtful too, and able to carry on these conversations and be pretty darn open and honest. I wasn't like that at all when Amy and I met. No. There's no way we'd have talked about like anything like this.
No,
I was just trying to show Amy how wonderful I was.
Yes, you were. Yeah. So they're having this conversation about the risk of moving into a romantic relationship. And then our son said, and he shared this with us, so this is with his permission.
He says we have to pay him every time. He's so far in debt that we're okay.
He said, the opportunity to grow with you is more appealing in a real sense than any other possibility. Saying, the opportunity to grow with you is worth the risk to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the risk that we're navigating in marriage. We don't ever actually get rid of the risk. We're actively engaging in that risk over and over and over. The risk of being honest, or the risk of being courageous, or the risk of being vulnerable, or the risk of learning to listen, or, we take these risks all the time. And what he was talking about in this conversation with us is if he didn't take the risk, he would never know if it was possible, and that it was worth knowing. It was worth the risk to know what was possible. And we just commented on, yes,
Right.
that's it. That's what relationships are. They're worth the risk. And I was listening to something else, and they were talking about how marriage is like a continual conversation. And what you're doing is re-engaging in this over and over and over through all the different transitions. And you're really just learning to keep that engagement, right? Keep stepping forward, keep taking that risk, keep leaning in, keep leaning into that conversation, which sometimes they're wildly uncomfortable. And they ask us to step into places that are sometimes scary, that are very uncertain, that we don't yet know. And yet, and like our son was saying this to us, how will I ever know if I can grow unless I take that step?
Yeah. I think one of the big things is he's a lot like his dad, and he's a little bit of a hopeless romantic. And I am. I just, in my mind, the running through the sunset, jumping over the waves, making passionate love, like that's what marriage is all about and always was for me. And then I was hopelessly romantic, and that's what I envisioned every day of our marriage to be. And he has a little bit of that in him, which is interesting. But he was wise enough in this statement too to say, if I get to that place where I imagine what this relationship would be with, it's fun, but I know it's not reality. And so I have to bring it back to reality, knowing that there's risk. Because his friend was asking him, like, if I step into this and it doesn't work, we might lose this friendship that we have, this great friendship. And he was saying, yes, that's true, but what I'm dreaming about is fantasy, and the reality, it's worth the risk and the work that it takes to be able to find out.
Mhm.
And I'm like, dude, that exposure that you're talking about, that honesty, it is the currency of intimacy.
Mhm.
The only way that you can be intimate with your partner is by allowing yourself to be exposed and to
And
be honest and
sometimes
truthful.
that also means on the receiving end, it's not only being honest, but it's also being able to hear the hard things or confront things that your spouse might be telling you that are hard to hear, that
Yeah.
might challenge you or might ask you to look at things from a new lens or perspective. And that can be really scary.
And here's this 18-year-old, almost 19, but he's still 18-year-old kid saying, yeah, I get it. That's what I fantasize about it being this way. But I realize that I have to pay the actual cost to know. And I'm willing to do that. I'm like, dude, where would I have been if I had your wisdom? And to be able to see it in him with my kind of hopeless romanticism
Yeah.
is really kind of cool, because it shows me, yeah, you can have that hopeless romantic part of you. And it's not bad. If you envision how great your sex life is going to be and you can fantasize about, that's not terrible. That's great things. It brings great things in your marriage you can share with your spouse. But if you never get yourself to reality and are willing to be exposed and tell the truth and be able to pay the currency, that intimacy will never happen. It will just be a fantasy. That's it.
Yeah. I was coaching with someone this week, and they were asking, is it necessary to be able to hear the hard things in order to have an intimate relationship? And I said, yes.
Emphatically.
Yes. It's not only necessary, but it's required of you to be able to be willing to share. And it's also required that you're willing to hear. And otherwise, your other options are hiding, pretending, masking, controlling, manipulating, and none of those
Resentment. That's all they can bring, period.
lead to intimacy. And intimacy has risk and is sometimes very scary and will ask you to go into uncertain, unknown places.
If I had $1 for every time my mind said this to me, I would have no problem with showing Clifford, because I'd have plenty of dollars. If Amy knows this, she will fill in the blank. And the fear that comes along, like if she knows this about me, if she knows this is what I'm thinking, if she knows this is what I'm desiring, if she knows this is how she's impacted me with what she just said, then our relationship's done. This will never work. And that's what I told myself over and over and over again. And the fear that it took me in to say, you can't expose yourself. She will not love you. That's what it would say to me over and over again. And it really took our explosion. It took our smack in the face to get us out of that mindset to start with. And a lot of years of trying to figure out what it should really look like
Yep.
for us to get to a place where we can be candid and honest with each other. And it still hurts the
Still
same way.
hurts. It's still
harder,
hard.
and it's still scary. And there's still times when, just this week, there was something that came up that I hadn't been dishonest, but I hadn't been really open with Amy until she asked me the question directly. And I was directly honest with her, and she didn't like the answer. And it caused some spiral. It caused some distance. It caused some of the old things that would happen in our marriage. And they used to scare the hell out of me. It's still uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that standing through that is what brings this intimacy and closeness.
I think we have more confidence in our capacity to walk through that, right? That there will be another side. We won't get stuck. We'll keep going, that we'll find our way back to each other. And that's usually happens through those conversations. And that's why I feel like marriage is this continual conversation. Each of you is developing, you're on your own journey, you're learning things, you're experiencing things, you're seeing things. And it's this conversation constantly happening within you and between you.
Yeah, I think the hard thing is not very clear when you're doing it well or you're not doing it well to me. I had a client that I was coaching this week that were talking about his sexuality. And I said, I think you have high anxiety around your sexuality. And he was like, I don't think so. I think it's just that I have these desires and I want to be honest. And yes, honesty is good. He's been coached for a while. He knows that being open and honest is good. But I still sensed that there was some anxiety around it. And he goes, okay, fine. How do you know the difference? And what do I do? We always get down to give me the 10 steps, right?
Yes,
To get to there.
our mine does it too. Okay, give me the one
Yeah,
thing.
what do we
Tell me
do?
the
What do we
fix.
need?
Give me the exercise. Give me the practice. There are good things to help support that. So not that all those are bad, but all of us want that. So it's just
But the answer really is you can do and say the exact same things to your wife, and they can be needy and anxious, or they can be loving and desirable. It's the intent that you say them with. I
or
said,
that you move or act.
Are you trying to manipulate her to get something out of her? Are you trying to manipulate her so that you can control your own anxiety? Are you trying to get validation from her like I did? That's what I
Are you
did.
trying to get love or are you trying to be loving?
Are you trying to be in a relationship and grow and have this opportunity to be honest and share and collaborate? Or are you trying to extract something? And you can do the exact same things and you can say the exact same things, and based on where you are at in your intent, they will come off very different.
Mm-hmm.
And our spouses, unfortunately, have been around us long enough. They can read right through it. There is no faking it. They know. Someone will be honest with you. And I asked him, I said, go ask your wife. He's like, oh, no, she wouldn't say. I'm like, I want to know what she says. Just go ask her, hey, do you think I have anxiety around our sexual relationship? That'd be very interesting to know. Because I'm okay to be wrong. I said, I'll be wrong. Go prove me wrong. I'll be fine. But they just brought up the point when we got to it. It's that craziness of it's the intent behind it that really matters. And how you approach that. I think in the end, what we're trying to say with all these stories, so thank you for sitting through my stories, is there's always going to be ups and downs, peaks and valleys.
Ebbs and flows,
And
good days, bad days, amazing connection, distance.
Yep. I tell my clients, if you think everything is wonderful, you're delusional. If you think everything's awful, you're depressed. So let's stay away from the D's and stay somewhere in the middle, knowing that life is 50-50. If you're looking at that peak and you're trying to jump to the next one, you're going to crash down in the valley. If you realize that there's a peak out there and it's going to take you time to go through that valley and you have to work through it together, then you're going to be able to work through it together and get to that next peak a lot quicker than jumping off because you're thinking you can make the next peak by leaping.
Mhm.
and getting and avoiding that valley. That's not how life works. And the biggest joys and the greatest closeness we have found and where our arrows has grown the most are oftentimes in those valleys
Mhm.
when we're struggling, when we can't figure it out, when we don't handle the situation quite right. But we recognize that and we go back to say, what are we doing wrong? How do I fix this? How to become better? One last story. I know we'll tell a fun
Storyteller
story.
is out
Yeah.
today.
Going to pick up Clifford. It was dark. The road I was supposed to turn on. There was an accident. Fire trucks, everything was out. And I'm like, I need to get over there. And so I'm going to go up the next street and I'm going to turn right and it's going to take me back. And so sure enough, I did. But I missed one important thing. There was a sign right at the beginning of it that said dead end. Next thing,
Important sign,
a very important sign.
especially when you're pulling a trailer.
I'm pulling a horse trailer.
Yeah, very
I
important.
find myself at a dead end into a driveway. It's dark and I try my best to back out the trailer and I get really close, but I can't. I'm getting desperate. I'm supposed to meet my trainer. This is him coming home from Worlds, meet my trainer up at her place and pick him up. And I'm getting desperate. And so I drive over the grass
Of
next to the
someone
driveway.
else's
It's
lawn.
someone else's lawn. And before I got out of there, I had a very angry homeowner screaming at me, very mad. And I was totally wrong. And I said, sorry. And they're like, that's not good enough. You just ruined my grass. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And fortunately, I had this angel come. It was the neighbor. She was the biology teacher. And she's like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I tell her what happened. She helped me get directions back. And I left. But I still didn't feel right that I had done something wrong. I had messed up their lawn because of a bad choice that I made. And then in the past, I probably would have tried to justify it. Oh, I can't believe there wasn't a sign. What was I supposed to do? Why they're so angry? I can't believe they yelled at me, cussed me out, how mean they are. I would have found all the excuses to justify myself for doing this. And this time I'm like, no, I just did something wrong. And so I went and got my truck full of dirt. I put my wheelbarrow on top of it, my rake and my shovel. I put Amy in the passenger side because, a hot wife always helps. And I drove back up there and I went to the driveway today and knocked on the door and I said, hey, sir, I'm sorry I was here the other night. I drove over your lawn. I'm here to fix it. He was shocked. He was shocked. He goes, I don't think you're fine. He's like, let's go walk out and look at it. He's like, yeah, we really can't do it. It's not bad. But thank you so much for coming back. He said, you don't know how many people find this place as a dead end. And I've had teenagers do donuts in my front yard and there's an accident in the corner and they're just running all over my yard. So he'd had bad experience and he's like, we're sorry we yelled at you, but I really, really appreciate the gesture and we're fine. And so it was that moment of stepping up and saying, I will do whatever I can to repair it. I felt so much better knowing that I repaired what I could and that I'd had that conversation and then we left.
And I think that's a similar principle in marriage. We really want to defend and justify and, I was trying to do what's right. I didn't see the sign. I didn't have a bad intent. I wasn't trying to hurt the lawn. And when you can just own, like,
I effed it up.
I made a mistake. I drove on your lawn. Were you trying to harm? No, but harm or
Happened.
It happened. And so in a marriage, the sooner you can just own what was, acknowledge it, I find that builds trust most quickly. And I think that is one thing that has helped us to repair more quickly is saying, hey, this was my part.
Yeah, I would never have done 3 years ago. That would have never happened. I wouldn't even probably talk to him. I would have just taken off and said, forget you and justify myself.
But think about how that not only probably repaired some of his hope in humanity, but also left some kindness at his doorstep, helped you feel better.
Yeah, no, it was amazing.
Like the whole repair cycle, we're so afraid of conflict, but actually, as you move through it, what happens as you move through is an increase in connection, an increase in goodness. And we talk so much about post-traumatic stress or like trauma and all of these things, but we forget about post-traumatic growth or the connection once you move through it or the development and transformation that's on the other side. And that's what's waiting for
Yeah,
us.
I'd probably spent 15, 20 minutes talking to the guy and finding out what he does and meeting someone that I would have never met before. You're right. It's through that, going through that challenge and admitting where you've messed up and trying to repair the best you can. Was it great to have some dirt and throw in there? Probably wasn't going to be exactly the same as it was before, but it was the best I could do. And it really does help. And so I think the theme we're trying to say is there's ups and downs. Like I said, there's trials and struggles. The story of Clifford is a roller coaster. I'm sure we're not done with the roller coaster. There
There
will
will
be
be
trials
more.
and there will be victories. That's life. That's marriage. It is that peak and valleys, and you grow in both if you are able to be open and honest with each other.
Be thankful for the ride.
Yeah. So if you find yourself in a peak and you're looking down and you see the next one and you're worried about what's between it, or if you find yourself in the depths of a valley, either way, please come join us on linkforlifecoaching.com.
Or in our community on Tuesday,
Go
November
sign up for the
25th,
community. We can't wait to see
7:30
all your
Central
smiling
Time.
faces. It will be wonderful. We would love it. Come sign up for a consult. We would spend time with you. We just enjoy doing that. It's such a blessing and we love it. So please do it. Please and subscribe to this podcast. It helps us keep growing. We're thankful for that. Until next time.
Keep undressing your intimacy.
Bye-bye.